Oh, is that on? Let me get this straight to recap it one last time. Remember last September? Last autumn? You know that around last autumn, I was reviewing Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse when all of a sudden, around December of last year, I began to realize that Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse has come out in a teaser trailer throughout last Christmas. And I was excited to see that film. I had to spend only around basically just a year since I've seen Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. So, that out of the way, I'd be wishing myself on the very behalf of myself is that there's not much to ask for just one night of this moment. I'll be appreciated to review this film. Well, after all those weird ways to adapt Spider-Man time and time again, we finally got Across the Spider-Verse. As I understood that this new Sony Pictures animation movie isn't like any other animated film than before. As I know that is so brilliant, I realized this wasn't as brilliant as what I expected it to be. The problem is, ever since I've started to tell you the truth about what happened to the previous film, I realized that it's about time I'm going to get everything ready for the review. As I noticed that, let me just try and get everything ready for the review now. So the plot is simple. What happens when Gwen Stacy gets recruited by Miguel O'Hara and Jessica Drew after she was able to defeat the Vulture, even though she managed to run away from her abusive father, George Stacy, inside that multiverse portal that takes her to the secret society called the Spider Society. That's why in the first film, which was Into the Spider-Verse, Miles Morales was originally the central protagonist, and now it's Gwen Stacy becoming the central protagonist. In this direct sequel to Into the Spider-Verse, I've understood that there are all new Spideys everywhere in this new multiverse beyond your wildest dreams. But we all knew that the scientist, Jonathan Odd, aka The Spot, was created to become some sort of complete monster who was created from a bagel that Miles threw into the Spider-Verse. But all I'm getting, whoever predicted this thing, is that they were just trying to learn an idea of what went wrong with the whole how to create your own villain thing. But I noticed that what rips into the slimy elephant in the room is that whoever predicted this purging moment of what removes everything from the first film is that from a shocking loss of what happens if Miles ends up wanting to escape reality by escaping boarding school in New Jersey so he can escape his worst reality to get into an alternate New York dimension where there are all kinds of Spideys out there throughout the past, and that's where Miles begins to learn that his actions of protecting Parvati Pakta's Sultan father means that it had consequences. That the craziest thing happened is that both Miles and Gwen have to go back to their respective New York dimensions only to realize they've been creating a fusion dance of what the Collider did to them, realizing that they've created a bad future where Aaron Davis was revealed to be alive after all, and now that there are 6 new villains, better known as the Sinister Six, who are who are hell-bent on getting revenge on Morales for pretty much destroying Kingpin's building. As I know, this was a weird coincidence of the whole you have to be careful what you wish for situation. I'm believing they were trying to copy this idea from Grizzly Tales for Gruesome Kids. Wait a minute. This was a coincidence that why did Across the Spider-Verse steal this from Grizzly Tales? This was disturbingly stupid for a plot twist. As I noticed that, I have no idea that Nigel Planer would not like this plot twist. I used to watch Grizzly Tales when I was a kid back then. But thanks to the snotty plot twist, is that this movie could have been made by Honeycomb Animation. Well, or Aardman, but in spite of some sort of new Chicken Run movie coming out titled Chicken Run Dawn of the Nugget, it will come out in Christmas. It wasn't believing that they're trying to use a combination of claymation and watercolor animation to create something that you could imagine. Imagine there was a Chicken Run and Spider-Verse crossover. That'd be cool. I can imagine that Ant-Man would team up with Studio Bird to get involved in Beyond the Spider-Verse. That'd be quite awesome. As I know, the first film was directed by Bob Persichetti, Peter Ramsey, Rodney Rothman, and the screenplay and story was actually done by Phil Lord. Well, minus Mr. Chris Miller Jr. for some reason, as opposed to Chris Miller Sr. from Shrek the Third. Despite this, this movie came out on May 30th, 2023, and it grossed up to $560.3 million on a budget of $100 million, compared to the first movie that had a budget of $90 million. For the moment I realized that it grossed up to a skyrocketing box office of $384.3 million. As I noticed that Spider-Man isn't always the menace that we know of, as well as discovering why Spider-Ham doesn't appear, they realized they brought back a lot of characters from the first film. At the end, they brought back Penny Parker and Spider-Man Noir. So, what does it mean if both Nicolas Cage and Kimiko Glenn would reprise their roles in Beyond the Spider-Verse? As I noticed, it is okay for what I could see. So, for a depraved plot twist that is ripped from a horror movie, I'd say the soundtrack does kick ass when it comes to handling a new threat that makes you get a little bit out of your mind if you're going to get those goosebumps from what you see on TV. Yeah, that's only outside of the book. But to top that all off, as I noticed that this movie gets just a solid but decent 7.5 out of 10. I kinda like this movie. The recent movies, being The Flash 2023 and Elemental, they seem to have backfired over the wrong directions. Basically, Disney and Warner Brothers, Pixar and Warner Brothers have both need to learn their lessons from what Disney got a redemption story in both Strange World and Wish. Well, it is okay to try and make a movie out of it. I know it's gonna be alright, that everything needs to be known for it. But from that out of the way, I'd say the next Spider-Verse film, titled Beyond the Spider-Verse, has unfortunately been delayed. For some reason it was going to come out on March 29th, 2024, is unfortunately delayed to around summer release. Now, I'm thinking if it comes out in summer 2024, let me just guess. Oh, I noticed that Spider-Verse 2 got split into two parts in December 2021. And oh no, why not? I'm gonna have to think. As I know this, that the MCU Spider-Verse 4 film was gonna come out in July 2024, and now it's coming out in October 2025. And it's alright that, should it get a new release date? Well, with that out of the way, that had to be a really, really bad scene to think of. I think of why he was beginning to have a panic attack over his hatred of, Miles himself had a crazy hatred towards bagels, like in The Last Wish. Like, what you saw is that, why would you believe in this movie when Puss in Boots hates pies? What does it mean if they were trying to copy the same thing? It's all because Puss in Boots hates pies, because no one likes Mr. Horner because of his obsession with pies, means that no one cares about pies. If there's 10 lines for an old cat that hates pies, I'd think of Garfield, who hates Mondays. But that is where we have to conclude it. As I noticed that from, next week, I will review Nimona for as long as I could see it, as promised. But I'm checking out that it's coming out, it just came out 2 days ago, and oops, I've got no idea what to do. So, what kind of sidekick would have to try and get the job done? But with that out of the way, I have to say goodbye to you now, so cheerio and ta-da!